I'm Vonya Womack with Unknown Stories Untold. And today we have the privilege of talking with two young adults, two 18-year-olds that are going to talk to us about their story. They've recently come to Greece where they're hoping to be studying, and they are, have a story to tell. So let me first off ask for you guys to introduce yourselves.
We're twin sisters, and we were both born in Turkey, and we lived there our whole life, and now we came to Greece to learn Greek and go to college. We're preparing for college currently, and we want to become scientists, and we're interested in science and mathematics.
So let me start by asking you girls. There's a lot of people would want to know, why did you leave and come to Greece? I know you're studying, you're coming to study, but can you explain from your perspective as a young person why you needed to leave?
We actually would have wanted to study in Turkey, but we are unable to because of the economy and the instability in the country, and they can't provide good education anymore because there's a lot of problems and safety problems, and the regime, Erdogan's regime, is taking over, and they are disrupting a lot of fields. So the country doesn't have a lot of future, so we thought it would be a good idea to leave and to go to a different country that has better conditions than Turkey.
So are they here with their family, or did they come by themselves?
We came by ourselves. Our parents are unable to leave the country because the government persecuted them, and the only way for them to leave the country would be illegally, so they aren't with us.
So could they explain to me a little bit what it's like living in Turkey? Let's start there. Living in Turkey with this kind of fear. What does that mean for someone that's in their age, an 18-year-old?
There's a lot of pressure from all areas. For example, the economic crisis, the unsafety, the instability, and we were also concerned about a civil war happening in Turkey when we were there. Also, the abuse women go through is insane, and consciously knowing that thousands of people are imprisoned really affects everyone and the atmosphere, and no one's happy. There's no safety on the streets. We're constantly worried about multiple things: education, safety, economic crisis, civil war. All of these dangers all pile up, and it adds together. It really becomes a very terrible atmosphere to live in. So that's one of the main reasons why no one's really happy.
Let me ask you a little bit more about Turkey, about home. Mm-hmm. And the reason I want to ask is because I think young people your age would want to know a little bit more about the pressure that you all feel and your family would feel in regards to police in neighborhoods. Are people your age, 18-year-olds, afraid of police coming to your home? And what does that look like? Try to explain that to me from your perspective.
Our generation, the young generation of Turkey, are aware of what's been going on and happening in Turkey and what's wrong and what's right, so they no longer want to tolerate what's happening. Instead, they want to fight back, and they want change. They have tolerated all of this enough. We all have tolerated it enough. We watched it go down for years. We don't want that anymore. We want change. We started fighting back more. We started protesting, and we will not be silent. We will stand our ground.
Very admirable of them to see that, and for young people to be able to stand up against that. It's the only way that change would be created, most likely. Let me ask, could you tell me a story that either is about you or your family or someone that you know that has been under persecution? For example, they've had to go to prison. They're being hunted in order to go there. Can you give me kind of a personal story in relation to that?
When the 2016 coup happened, our parents both, my dad was fired from his job, so they were looking for a different job, both of my parents, in order to raise us. They had to search other places to live in order to find a job, so we had to live with our grandma because our parents didn't have a stability, nor did they have a job, so we lived separately from our parents for years. When we were living with our grandma, we learned one day that the police took our mom and dad to prison. They were prosecuted. They were taken to court unfairly and they were put in prison. And we had to visit them. They were both in different prisons, so we had to visit them from different places, one place to another during those times. And once they were released, the danger wasn't over because they could still go back to prison again, and they continued switching from different jobs because people wouldn't give them any jobs, and it was a very hard time. And we continued living with our grandma. And then when we turned 18, we decided that it was the best for us to go to a different country to study and start a new life.
I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm sure that, you know, for you that's been really, really tough. But that's really important for people to know and to understand that this is what is happening with the Erdogan regime, right? Is the Turkish purge and going after Gulen supporters or Hizmet supporters, and other minority groups, like the Kurds as well, and doing things like this. And I have also heard that they've done, you know, they'll put parents in different prisons very far apart, so it makes it very difficult for family members to see them. Very resilient, very strong women. Going after that education is going to be something that's going to benefit them, you know, tremendously. And, you know, all I can say is that I hope that more and more young people hear the stories of, you know, that are similar to these two young girls, because there are hundreds of thousands of them, of these stories that are out there. That's just with young adults, you know, that have had to deal with either losing their parents or having their parents imprisoned or having to escape and hide throughout the country and then escape again across the sea or the river in order to get to a land of safety, which the closest happens to be, one of the closest happens to be Greece. So, you know, I want to let them know that I think that they are some of the bravest, actually, if not the bravest 18-year-olds that I have ever met. Well, you know, I think the biggest thing here is kind of the story that you've been able to tell, because people can have a vision of what that looks like for you, because sitting there, you look like two normal 18-year-olds, you know, twins, but two normal 18-year-olds that are getting ready to go study. And, you know, that's what life is about for you. But what people don't know is that there are people that look just like you that are in Turkey that are having to hide right now. There are people that are just like you, your age, that are having to flee and come across, you know, a sea. And there are people that are just like you that are also in prison. And so drawing attention to the human rights violations and the human rights issues that are there is important for us to tell your stories too. Mm-hmm. All right. So thank you both. I want to thank you both for giving us your time to talk to us a little bit about, where you've come from and what you're doing now, and some of the stories of your past in Turkey dealing with the Erdogan regime and the Turkish purge. So thank you both very much. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us here at Refugees Unknown Stories Untold. You guys have done an amazing job about giving us a picture of what it's like for, young adults that are in Turkey right now that are fearful, that are being hunted, that are separated from their parents, where their parents have had to be, in prison. And it's affected not just your education, but it's affected your livelihoods. The whole Turkish purge has. And so right now you both look to be amazing young women, and you're on a great path to doing some things with your education. I think you'll make two fine scientists someday, for sure. But thank you for telling your story, and keep telling your stories, because that's what helps other people around the world to understand what is happening. So, I want to thank you again for being willing to talk with us here at RUSU, Refugees Unknown Stories Untold.